What was the very first QuickTime oh my god. What was the very first video game QuickTime event? Love them or hate them, QTEs have been used in video games for quite a while now to make things feel more cinematic while still allowing the player to have some agency over what's happening on screen, rather than the player just sitting back and watching a cutscene. There are a handful of different ways QuickTime events may play out, but the most recognizable form occurs when button prompts pop up and you have a quick time frame window to hit the corresponding button or key, and if you're too slow or hit the wrong one, it's usually game over or the player is negatively affected in some way. QTEs have been heavily criticized as a poor excuse for real-time gameplay substitute, but like it or not, they still show up in even the most successful video games in the industry today. So, what video game introduced the very first QuickTime event? QuickTime events are widely considered to be first introduced in the 1983 interactive movie called Dragon's Lair. As it was an interactive movie video game, essentially the entire game was made up of QuickTime events. In this scene here, you can see what happens when the player successfully pulls off the necessary button interactions on the arcade cabinet, and what happens when they fail. However, there are actually earlier examples of QTEs in video games, if you consider something like 1974's electromechanical arcade cabinet Wild Gunman to be a proper video game. Footage of 16mm film was used to project images on the screen. When the rival gunman's eyes would light up, the player would draw their pistol to see if they could shoot before their opponent could. So technically the answer here is Nintendo's Wild Gunman in 1974 or Dragon's Lair in 1983. But if you're looking for the first QTEs from a more traditional video game that's not simply an interactive movie, the answer is 1999's ahead of its time Dreamcast classic Shenmue. Shenmue not only popularized the QTEs that are still utilized today, but it also coined the phrase. Shenmue is arguably more important than Wild Gunman or Dragon's Lair in this conversation because Shenmue utilized QTEs as a more cinematic substitute for real-time gameplay in the way that we widely recognize how QTEs are more often used in games today. Follow me to see the follow-up to this video, the most ridiculous QTEs in gaming history, and what are some other video game firsts that I should talk about? Let me know in the comments.